Hello and welcome to SEGA News Bits Extra. I'm Barry and I'm going solo this week due to the Memorial Day weekend and family commitments. We've pushed things a little bit back and George is busy at the moment, so I'm going to be covering two stories that we did not cover on the YouTube channel. The big one, in my opinion, is that now people have been debating this on Twitter after we newsed it, but Nagoshi has said that Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 remasters are being created specifically because of the new overseas fans, and he also confirms no-cut content. And what's interesting about that is, you know, he doesn't cite America or the West or Europe or anything like that. He just says overseas. And since newsing this, I have been told that perhaps he's referring to China. And he could be, but in my opinion, overseas is a blanket term that Nagoshi is using because, I mean, face it, the Yakuza 6 was the most popular game in the franchises in America. It sold through the roof. It made the top 20. It goes without saying that SEGA of America and SEGA Europe maybe are very committed to the series, and I think it's not a question of if, but when. I think they just are waiting for Kiwami 2 to release, and then they're going to give us news on 3, 4, and 5. So that's good news, and I really, really like that SEGA of Japan are making decisions not just based on what's happening within their own country, because to be honest, you know, you release these games with a worldwide sort of management style going into it, everyone wins. If you make a game that is just going to sell in Japan, or you think it's just going to sell in Japan, you never localize it, a lot of people are missing out. And to be honest, you know, Atlas gets some pretty crazy titles. So at that point, George will go, yeah, of course, I agree. Unfortunately, he's not here, I'm all alone. But the other thing I want to talk about was the Sega Genesis Classics. And this released today. It touts over 50 classic games. We've newsed it, we've made some videos. It comes with a poster. Not that bad, you know, it's got, I guess this just turned into an unboxing video, but you know, it's a Golden Axe on one side, Streets of Rage on the other. It's a cute little bonus. I took about an hour and played it a bit. It's fine. It's a port of the PC Steam release of the hub, and it's made by D3T, who's handling the Shenmue remaster. And so I think they do a competent job. The text is really small though. It's like annoyingly small. It works on a computer, but I feel like they didn't put the thought in that, you know, on a console people sit further back. I also gotta say, I mean, despite it having the largest amount of games for a Sega Genesis collection, it's kind of disappointing just in the fact that, like, Sega still has not gotten around to figuring out the Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles situation. Like, I mean, you know, Golden Axe, the trilogy is on here. Streets of Rage trilogy is on here. It has Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4, but no Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And I know there are reasons for that, but Sega needs to sort that out. It's just getting ridiculous at this point. I understand that they're not going to remaster it like they did 1 and 2, but just give us, like, ROMs. I do not understand it. It's so bizarre. And, I mean, I guess that explains why they have the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. I know people last generation gave that a lot of flack for the name, but to be honest, it had the entire series on there, so, you know, you can't knock them for that. But, yeah, overall it's fine. I'm gonna write a review, I guess. I mean, but we didn't get a review copy, and I moan about this on social media on my own account, but I think Sega Europe is really dropping the ball on how they're handling these releases, because they are only really reaching out to a select handful of YouTubers. And I'm not talking about, like, the big name guys, but I'm talking about guys who have, like, not hit 100,000 yet. I'm talking about guys who are, like, even people at 6,000 subs who do streams are getting copies of the game and getting retweeted by Sega. And, you know, I'm not gonna, like, look up, I forgot what we have on YouTube, but it's beyond that. And, you know, I mean, it's a digital code. What's it gonna hurt to send us a copy and we can actually talk about it and have opinions? It kind of sours me on these sorts of things, just because it's like, we don't get press releases, we don't get review copies. And this is a Sega Europe thing. I don't know what they're thinking. They did this event in New York where it was like a a Sega Genesis Classics tournament, and they invited a WWE superstar who has his own YouTube channel, and they're like, hey, look, he won! But it's like, he didn't open it up to fans, invite fan sites, he didn't do anything. He just brought together a handful of YouTubers who, you know, to be honest, it's okay. It's passable. I'm not going to assign a review score to it yet. I haven't put enough time into it, but it's just like there are some glaring problems I have with it, and it's just like my thing is like, give us 32X games, like give us Master System games. Like there's this room, like this 3D room you go around, have a Sega Master System hidden, and if you boot up every game in the collection, it unlocks the console and you get like another 20 titles. Like there's got to be a very easy way to do that, or Game Gear games, or just the fact that Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4 is on it, but you're not getting 1. I recently bought the PlayStation 2. Boy, what is that? See how they all sound the same. There's Sega Genesis Collection. I think it's that. Sega Genesis Classics Collection. Maybe it's that. But they put stuff like Tax Scan, which is a TACSCAN, not Tax Scam, which is a arcade game that has never seen a home release outside of like the Atari, but it's a faithful arcade port, and it's the only way you're going to get it. And they could have done something like that here, but they didn't. So those are my thoughts on this, my thoughts on Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 remasters. We will be back next week with more extra news bits. George will be with me, and you can check out the YouTube channel. We are putting up the top 10 Sega Genesis Classics games. It was the best we could do with what we had available to us. So you can check that out, and thanks for watching. Bye!